afternoon, beautiful beings of light. Welcome to the Crone Zone Conversation with the Ancients. My name's Priscilla. Heather's my co-host, and today we get to welcome Kerrie from Tarot Soul Writer. Sorry about that.
It's okay. Good to be here.
How are you today?
I'm doing great.
Fantastic.
Great to be here.
Good. We're really happy to have you here, and I'm kind of excited about talking about that 2020 project because we really haven't looked back. We've been so busy moving forward. I haven't spent any time reflecting on 2020.
And trying not to hear what we're hearing.
Yeah. Hi, Lark. Welcome.
Hey, Lark.
Much love back at you. Hope everybody's having a good Saturday. I love Saturday afternoons. Yeah. And it's finally cooling off down here in Key West. So yippee skippy.
That's cool.
I happened to pull a card earlier, and I wanted to tell you what I pulled because I thought it was interesting. I pulled a card for the show because once you started telling me about you did that every show, I do it every show now.
Yeah.
But I used the Seasons of the Witch, the Samhain Oracle. And the card I pulled was Potions and Spells. We are capable of manifesting anything. We are the directors of our life, and we're equipped with everything we need to make our manifestations happen, to manifest anything we desire. So think big and make it our mission to craft our life because the possibilities are endless. So nice. Pretty nice community message.
Yeah, I was going to say the card that I pulled was Archangel Uriel.
Oh, nice.
And this one was, your emotions are healing, which enables you to open to greater love. I will help you release anger and unforgiveness from your heart and mind. So I'm thinking there might be some sort of healing energy around today's program.
There might be. That's interesting. Well, I had to sign up for your 2020 project because it just sounded so interesting. Yeah. Heather, did you get a card? Did you pull a card too, honey?
I'm going to, which is a new deck.
I know we have to wait for Heather's card. Well, I don't know. I have been doing this.
New deck, so I'm not sure what it's going to say.
Well, fun. Hey, Amanda Carroll, welcome.
It says boundaries, set them daily.
Ooh, interesting. Well, that's kind of interesting. I would love to tell you about the 2020 project with that card in mind, because when you had introduced like, hey, we haven't really looked back on 2020. And then Heather, didn't you say something to the effect of like, there are some things you don't want to look back on? Is that what you had meant?
Wasn't that you?
Oh, because I kind of like heard something. But I wanted to because there are some people that I have started to interview, and I'll tell a little bit about the project in a minute. But that boundaries thing struck me because I think a lot of people have boundaries concerning speaking about and remembering 2020. Right. And it's different for every person.
That's right. It's every person. Some people, it was like COVID. You and I, Priscilla, don't personally know anybody who died from it. We know of people, but they were not our personal friends. Whereas somebody who had a personal friend die from it, they're going to think
have a completely different view.
Yeah. Because and if you haven't gotten an invite, if you're a reader out there or a person who haven't gotten a personal invite from me, it's coming. I'm trying to do people in batches. But some of the people I've invited have been very enthusiastic. Some people have signed up for interviews. And then there are other people who I thought were slam dunks. Like, this person is like one of my besties. They'll definitely do this. And I've gotten things back like, that's great for some people, but it took me a long time to put this trauma behind me. And I'm not opening that door again. So it's taught me a lot about boundaries, which is interesting that that's the card that in other words, you can't force healing with people. You can only put it out there, the invitation, and just allow who is ready to receive that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. You can't force anyone to do anything.
So I guess that card made sense.
It absolutely did.
That's the first time I've ever pulled any from this deck.
Yeah.
What's the deck? What's the deck called?
Hold on.
Hi, Laurie. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
I put the new deck card books next to me, and trying to find out what it was.
And if you haven't figured it out, everybody, we're talking about 2020 and the effect it had on our lives. And this interesting project that Kerrie has going, the 2020 project. I have to tell you, I went back. I use Apple products, so I went back, and you can go by year on your in your photos. So I started pulling up the photos, and I have to go through them again before I send them to you, because I bet you there's 100. There were so many things that happened. It was just amazing. And then I started going back through my journals, and that was even more interesting because I really forgot a lot of information that came through during that time. Because Heather and I were focused on our spiritual work. We went inside. We went inside ourselves.
And channeling.
We didn't have, we had our little oasis here, a swimming pool, which is great for exercise and stress relief. We have a beautiful garden. We had a beautiful garden that we could sit in, walk through, whatever. So we really had paradise here, and it didn't change our lifestyles other than
we went
no travel. And we didn't go to the grocery store. We had groceries delivered, which I still have delivered.
Right.
I still don't go to the grocery store. There's a lot of COVID fear about that still out there, with people still getting COVID, and these new strains that don't appear to be as bad, thank goodness. But that's always on my mind when I travel by air. I still wear a mask. I have diseases, autoimmune diseases. I don't want to take the chance of getting it. And I've had 5 vaccinations, which was a whole nother thing, whether to be vaccinated or not.
I know, I forgot about that.
My guides told me to get vaccinated.
Right. They did.
They were the one, they
said
insisted.
anything that there might be wrong with it, we're strong enough to counteract it, so we don't have to worry about it. You were asking about the deck.
Yeah.
And it's the Archangel Metatron Self-Mastery Oracle.
Ooh, sweet. I love anything to do with Metatron.
Yeah.
But like I said, I just had to find the right book for the cards, because I haven't got that all clear yet. Like I said in one of the shows past, I've got a bunch of new cards that I've been looking at, and I'm going, okay, now it's time to start using. And I have to do something. That's
always fun. I love new card decks. Love it.
Mm-hmm. So
okay, Kerrie.
Anyway, back to the 2020 project.
Yeah, I think I would like to explain to the people out there who haven't seen this on my channel exactly what it is. So my whole process, I did something similar that you did, Priscilla, in that I started to categorize all of my photos by months. And I was doing that actually through my entire life. I've been scanning old pictures for the last 2 years. I've been organizing them. And I had gotten to the year 1972. So these are like childhood pictures.
Yeah,
and I was putting it together, and I heard from my guides 2020. Like, just skip the next 2 decades, 3 decades, and just go to 2020. Whoa. It's like, so I did. And then I realized, as I'm putting together my photos to music and such, there was such symbolism there. And there was such a sense of a shift, of collective healing. 2020 was the year that I actually got my YouTube channel. It was the year that I connected to the greater community that we are all part of. There were so many different shifts politically, not just about COVID, but also just the energy that was coming up that was connecting certain groups of people. And so I had this idea that I would interview people, and I feel like all my ideas come from spirit. This is what I channel through writing, and that I would interview both readers in our community who want to volunteer, and also people who watch, the viewers, because I don't see either group as above the other. I feel like we're all connected. I'm a viewer as well. I view everybody's show. I view your show. I'm also sometimes the guest. And I feel that the viewers, I want them to be part of it. So I set up on my website, tarotsoulwriter.com. It says right on the top, 2020 project. And I even said I would give a free reading, a 3-card reading for people who wanted it, who, you know, would volunteer their time, equal energy exchange. Like, I'll give you a little reading and you can give me an interview. And I'm interviewing people concerning what they went through personally in their lives, their own shifts, their own happenings with their family, their changes in behavior, epiphanies, unexpected moments of joy. There's going to be a whole gamut of things you may have experienced in the microcosm. And then we're going to put this together collectively. And I'm going to put together a documentary. And that
documentary, it'll be very healing.
It's going to be, to see the beginning to the end with everyone's voice. I'm collecting art. I'm collecting poetry. I'm collecting, like you said, pieces of your journal. Say you don't want to be interviewed, but I would like this section of my journal to be focused on. There's going to be so many ways you can participate.
Yeah. I think it's absolutely worth doing. I'm excited about it. And I can't wait to see the documentary.
And there's some good readers that have already volunteered. I've already done an interview with Allie from Heart and Soul Connected. You are going to be interviewing Heather. I hope you interview as well.
I will. I will.
Yeah, definitely. Like, sign up for a time that's convenient for you. I have Denise Siegel, and she might participate by showing some of her art. I have Sheila from Celtic Sheila, who should be interviewing with me soon. Kim from Intuitive, she's scheduled already. And I also have Linda G said, as soon as she heals from her surgery, she's in. So that's coming up, because I wanted some of the readers I know people are always viewing as well, because they started that whole circle. And then I'm really ballooning out to all the people who are inspired by them. And then I want those viewers, you know, that's what I need more of. I need anyone who started from the beginning and said, wow, I'm stuck in my house. I'm going to turn on YouTube. And I want to know.
That's what we did. That's exactly what we did.
That's what we did. Yeah. So it's going to be good. So I'm excited.
I think it's going to be excellent. Hi, Janet C. and Hypnicity. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're talking about 2020, and particularly Kerrie's 2020 project, which is going to be a collaboration of a lot of different people.
A lot of very different people.
Very different people.
And
all across the country.
And before we started the show, we were looking up to the different things that happened in 2020, because that's 3 years ago. And with everything that's been going on, pretty well forgot about what was happening. Do you want to read your list that you developed?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think probably the most important thing that happened in 2020 was Prince Harry and Meghan quitting the royal family.
That was
I say that in total jest, but nevertheless, that happened.
Yeah.
The Australian bushfires. Actually, the most important thing in my book was the death of RBG. Ruth Bader Ginsburg's death gives me chills to even think about it. It just broke my heart. She was such an amazing human being.
Can I just say, because as soon as you said it, I just got brought right back to that moment. And I was doing something, cleaning something in the bathroom. My son came out and said, "I'm so sorry, Mom." And I was like, "What are you talking about? I'm so sorry." You know, like, you couldn't get it out. And then I'm like, "What happened?" And then he told me. And I'll always remember that.
I was devastated. Absolutely devastated on a multitude of levels, actually. Many different levels.
It's like I expected it, but it felt like a moment, like this deep moment where you're like, oh my goodness.
That was somebody who really played a part in history. Everybody knew.
Absolutely.
Right.
Oh.
Then we had the Australian bushfires, which were horrible.
Yeah.
And I remember the photographs of the animals that were escaping, and the horror of that. Harvey Weinstein was convicted. And I didn't remember the stock market crash. Did you remember the stock market crash just prior to lockdown?
Yeah, that was from COVID.
That was from COVID. China really tipped that off, because obviously it happened there first. And it was all, the world market was all crumbling before we went into, I mean, because remember, Europe got affected, Italy and such, and then we were one of the last ones.
Oh, the day they locked us down, I think we got locked down around March 15th. We were supposed to leave on March 13th to go to Spain for a holiday in Spain and Italy. And we talked about it and thought, if we get stuck over there, we're screwed, So we obviously decided not to go. And I think it was locked down just a couple of days after that.
Yeah, we would have got there and been locked down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You would have been stuck in Italy for God knows how long.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, actually, it was Italy. I thought it was Spain.
It was we flew into Madrid, but then we were going up to some mountain.
Yeah, and that was in Switzerland
in Italy. It was a tour that we were doing.
Yeah.
The mountain.
You know what? Before you go on to your next thing on your list, can I just go back very briefly to Meghan and Harry? Because I just got like a hit.
Sure.
And it's like not as trivial as maybe people might think, because it's very symbolic of that energy of moving away from those old structures. I just kind of felt that. Like
that's a great analogy.
Yeah, and it was kind of like at that same, we're talking about these shifts, and it's like, no, I'm not going to play that game anymore. I'm not going to follow those rules anymore. They don't make sense to us anymore. So there was something symbolic.
You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
that was
and
another symptom.
Tradition. They broke the tradition.
They broke the tradition. They broke the protocol.
No, I'm not doing that. And
it was our own thing.
Yeah. And good on them, because it seems to me that situation they were in, not just for them, but is just a toxic environment. Period.
Plus,
because it's so steeped in tradition.
Well, his book said it all. The spare.
Yeah.
The spare. It really wasn't in book. It was just the spare.
Mm-hmm.
Sitting in the back of the trunk.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. I felt sorry for him for that.
Yeah.
Then what else? Of course, Kobe Bryant died. That was big on people that
helicopter crash. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was big for my boys. They follow basketball big time, and that really hit them.
Yeah.
And we can't underestimate, because we might not be into something, but all these events are touching different types of people in different ways.
Absolutely.
And that's part of the brilliance of being able to really hear each other's stories and how they weave together, how we see these little shifts. Because the sports thing, that hits a lot of people. And
absolutely.
Even though you might not be into sports.
No, and I'm not. I don't care anything about sports. Competition to me is the exact opposite. I want cooperation, not competition. So I've always sucked at competition.
Right.
Because I think it just breeds the wrong attitudes.
Yeah. But there are a lot of people who are very inspired by that. Maybe that's also part of the human condition, that idea of sport and competition. I think especially with male energy. I mean, I don't mean to stereotype, because there are a lot of very competitive and sports-minded women. But I know that there were a lot of, like I said, my boys who really follow sports, and it's just part of who they are, and that hit them really hard.
Absolutely, it did. Black Lives Matters protests started again. People that are fed up with what's going on. Time to protest.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big.
I was going to say the Harry and Meghan thing had an undertone of racism too, that they
absolutely.
They had enough of that. And then you have this Black Lives Matter situation, which I believe, who is the gentleman who passed away because they had,
I don't remember.
His neck,
his name. Or they were blocking his airway.
Yeah, and I feel like that was 2020, because I remember they kept holding signs like, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. And it was like people had enough. And they went wild that summer, and they were just like, COVID or not. Floyd.
His name was Floyd. His last name was Floyd. I don't remember.
And that was the huge protest. that huge protest where Donald Trump came out and tricked the military in coming out with him and did the Bible upside down.
The
He
Bible
actually,
upside down.
yeah, like, I don't know. He who knows? He was in front of the church. He wanted a photo op. And he actually
And threatened to shoot the protesters.
He wanted to shoot the protesters. That has come out in numerous narratives now since January 6th. That he actually said that to people. And they had to say, you can't do that, Mr. President.
Oh, another good one, the wildfires in California that destroyed so much because people were not raking their forests.
I know. If they had only just raked the
Only
forests.
they had raked the forests.
Yeah.
It would have saved so many lives.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter that they were federal forests.
That's right. That's so
But,
funny.
oh man, those wildfires were horrendous. So many people lost their lives and homes in those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had a lot of tragedy besides COVID popping up.
Yeah. And a lot of shifts in attitudes. It was as if like you could see the old world crumbling. No, I'm not going to follow tradition. No, I'm not going to take racism or sexism anymore. Didn't we have a Harvey Weinstein thing?
Harvey Weinstein, he was convicted.
Yeah, he was convicted.
Yeah. You had the Mr. Epps situation kind of bubbling to the surface.
That was the year Ghislaine Maxwell, however you say her name, I don't know.
Yeah.
She was arrested.
Right.
In 2020.
Right. So it's kind of like, no, we're not going to take that abuse anymore. No, we're not going to do this anymore.
And that was the year that Biden became president. Fine.
Right. And I was actually saying earlier, before that, and a lot of political pundits will agree with this, that before COVID, there was a real question whether Democrats could have taken the election. I don't know if they would have or wouldn't have, because we'll never really know because things have happened in such a way. But his overall numbers were high.
The reason I don't think he would have won. Well, I was told that Biden was going to win. My guides told me Biden would win. But the reason I really believed that Biden did win was the removal of access for women to health care.
Oh, that was huge.
That was huge. And I believe that's what sent so many women and young people to the polls.
But also COVID took him down. COVID really exposed who he was. I think if it wasn't for that year, like you said, all of those happenings, it was questionable. We were in a really scary place.
It may have been.
I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming things would have gone the same, but I don't know. All I know is you could see the unraveling beginning in 2020.
It's kind of happening now, that unraveling as well.
Yeah.
Further unraveling. Right when in 2016, I was told that he was the most dangerous man on the planet for humanity.
Yeah.
That he was the most dangerous because
45.
When he won that election, we were horrified. We were just, I went into depression for several weeks. I was so frightened of what would happen.
I knew personally a lot of people who said if he won, they'll leave the United States.
If he won again, I would leave the United States without a doubt.
People who
if we had sunk that low, but I don't think that's going to happen again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if he won again, I'm just going to say this there would be nowhere to go because he's that dangerous. Do you know what I'm saying? At this point, we're too far in. We just have to take care of our own business and make sure that doesn't happen.
And that's what we had to do.
Yeah.
For those years was just hunker down, pay attention to ourselves, grow within, and let all that noise out there. But I was getting messages from my guides. He was sent here for this. It's exactly, he did his job. He was overzealous in the work that he was doing, is what my guides told him. He was here to do this, but he was a bit over. I guess he embraced the part really well. He embraced his
job well.
His job very well.
He was an overachiever.
Yeah.
He was an overachiever. Well, you have free will. He had his own karma and whatever. He could have, done something good. He could have turned something around. I really believe that. But he
a narcissistic personality doesn't think about anything but themselves, and you can see that's evident in everything that he says or does. It's all to benefit him.
Yeah.
And no one else.
Wherever he is, he's what somebody said, wherever he's a crime scene, becomes a crime scene. I don't know. All I know is that he definitely has an effect on everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Good and bad. So I don't know.
Someone said that the pendulum says he's a reptilian. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, they do.
I wondered about that myself, but I don't believe he is. I actually believe he came from a much higher realm, from what I was told. Who volunteered to be? He volunteered to be the devil on earth. Actually, basically, he did a great job. I'm glad he's gone. Now, what else did we get? A Twitter hack. I'm not sure what the heck the Twitter hack is about.
What happened? I can't remember.
I don't know what's in that. I can't remember,
but I think that was when Musk got involved somehow.
I feel like Musk came in later, though, for some reason.
I think so too. Hang on, I've got that article here, I think. And then there was. Wait a minute, where is it?
I miss the old Twitter.
I never Twittered, so I don't know.
I never got involved.
That was nothing. I thought Facebook was nasty enough. I didn't really want to go for the Twitter hack. Allegedly spearheaded by a Florida teen, took over Twitter accounts of Joe Biden, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Kanye West, in a Bitcoin scam. It had to do.
You know what? I totally missed that. That is
me too. I don't remember that.
Well, that's because we weren't on Twitter.
I actually was on Twitter. I do not remember this for some reason. I must have blocked it out, or for some reason it didn't affect me, or they must have locked it down fast after that.
They
must have.
Yeah.
Well, that's my list. So, I mean, COVID was the big thing. DJT's impeachment was another one. That was another big thing.
What did you say that when we were looking that up, that title was things from the year from hell? Is that what?
Oh, yeah. It's the New York Post, and it says 2020 events. Yep, these things all happened in the year from hell. And there's a few more. You know, Biden got elected, that kind of thing.
Announcement of us, the vice president, and that kind of stuff.
It was interesting because at the end of my own reflection film, I felt like there was no real closure. It was as if, yes, all these shifts were happening, but it wasn't contained in a year. It was almost like someone just smashed everything in 2020, but
so it exploded out forever.
Yeah, but it's like you knew there was like this impending doom feeling moving forward. And I don't want to make it seem like only bad things have happened. A lot of good things have happened, but it was almost like a sense that this was just the beginning of a shift that was going to happen over years, not just like one and done. Like, okay, we're good now. It will never be normal again. People will be like, let's go back to normal. First of all, what was normal?
There was never any normal anyway.
Yeah, never normal to go back to.
Exactly. And things will never be the same. Yeah.
It was the beginning of a huge shift for the planet and for the people.
Well,
for humanity.
How many people have been doing the shift? I think the last figures that I read were 75% of people on Earth are ready to or are in the process of shifting.
Mm-hmm.
That high? I would have thought maybe we'd be lucky to have 10%.
Well, remember they said that we were over half when we started.
That's true.
So, 75%, you can't stop it. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
My understanding is on other planes, it has already happened. We're just catching up in the 3D world. The shift has already happened.
Mm-hmm. I believe it.
Now, I can't wrap my brain around that. Where and how,
because
and
we
I
don't
don't get
see
it. All I know is it's happened, and 3D has to catch up. that
Yeah.
the shift has happened. So we're all doing exactly what we need to do to make it happen.
Yep. Sending out all that unconditional love is going to help.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm working on the unconditional love thing though.
I had to work on that during Trump's presidency.
That was rough.
And it was one of the hardest of my lessons was to be able to send him unconditional love, because there was nobody I detested more, and I still do detest, but I have to send him love, because who needs it more than people like that? That they act out because they don't feel loved. That's why they act out this way, because they don't feel like they're loved. So who needs it most?
Yeah. You're a better person than me. I like to be honest with people. I'm just a regular person with psychic abilities, you know, but I'm still working on that. Like
I figure if I could, I kicked that back in whenever that was, probably 2020, before I could really get through it. But that was a huge one for me.
Yeah.
Because I was sending love to everybody that I wanted to, but Congress was not part of that, which we always surround Congress in love now. Any political group, you have to surround them in unconditional love.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a process.
It's a process to get through it. Absolutely. It's not easy.
And I have a mantra that I use all the time. And sometimes I forget to write it down and remember it. But doggone, it makes enough sense. I mean, because it talks about I'm calling for unconditional love. And then you can feel the unconditional love. And then you realize that you are the unconditional love. And you're filled up with unconditional love to the point where there's no room for any fear. And so it needs to either be brought to the light or given to earth, whatever is the best thing. And so then you become the unconditional love, and that's what you're sending out.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's
and
a good
you
thing.
Say that 2 or 3 times, and all of a sudden it's really easy to say because you believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's true.
It's just getting there.
You know what? For me, like, I'm going to definitely take that to heart and try that in my meditations. But something like what I'm doing in this project is my way of trying to connect and to heal and to just accept.
Because you're doing it with love.
Yeah.
Especially
when you're one-on-one with someone and it's just me and you, let's talk and let's connect. And that is my way of like getting out of my own head and just practicing that. It's easy for me to do that in a one-on-one situation. It's harder when I see these collective things, these people who are not connected. Like, I'm never going to talk to Mr. Trump, 45. I'm never going to have a one-on-one with him. But so for some reason that's harder because I'm stuck with my own anger of what I perceive has happened.
Oh, I get it totally.
Yeah. And I remember when I first started, and it was, I started before COVID, but it was different. All of a sudden, it was just all that. But when I first started, it was, okay, you change one life at a time. That's all you're doing.
You've got to do your own first.
Yeah.
You have to change your own life first.
So you're doing it with unconditional love, but you're changing somebody's life, one person at a time. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's the way to do it.
One-on-one's great.
Yeah, that's been our mantra. Like, as teachers, I think that's where that has become easy for me, being a teacher for so long, because that's all about that one-on-one or the small group. I can change them. I can't change the whole system. I can't.
No, you can't change anyone. They can change themselves.
That's
right. You can leave.
That's a good point. Yeah, but I can plant the seeds.
Yeah, it's the seed planting, because we all take those seeds and grow in different ways. And I mean, all three of us are completely different, but we know the basis of our life is unconditional love. That's where we're coming from. That's where we think the planet should be. So that's what we want to show.
And I remember
that's what I want the future to be: harmony and cooperation and community for everybody, not just a few.
I was special education. And when I was teaching in one district, I was doing kindergarten through high school. And what I learned is that I loved the junior high kids because that's the last place that I can make a difference. In high school, they're going to do what they're going to do. You can help them if it's positive, but if it's negative, you aren't going to turn them around.
Although I have to say, I've had quite a few moments of turning around a high school student. I was a high school teacher.
I had a couple.
Good for you.
Yeah. And I had some rough kids, and I get letters and people who will see me now. Oh, wow, you made a difference in this way. I might not have known it then.
Yeah.
But then later on, they've come back. So I know that it's still possible. All things are possible.
Much
but I know you're saying it's harder.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
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 I'm just going to put up some comments because they're really.
Some of them are really good. I've been watching over here.
Like Hypnicity says, I'm working on observation without judgment. Absolutely. Seeing it from a higher perspective. I always try to visualize myself as an eagle flying and seeing it from all different angles when I've got an issue with any people or anything,
Yeah. And I have to
I love being an eagle.
Yeah. And I have to step back and look at it again. It's different. And everybody does things differently. Nothing wrong with it.
That goes back to that boundaries thing that kind of came up with your card, and just respecting other people's boundaries without judgment.
Exactly.
That's exactly right. Because none of us are going to be the same, do the same things, do everything the same way. Hypnicity says, my sister is a retired special education teacher. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, White Dragon. Welcome. We're talking about the year 2020 and the 2020 project that Kerrie's doing.
And
it's actually fascinating. Yeah, we volunteered for it.
Yeah,
I think it's fascinating just sitting here talking about it, the things that are coming up that I've totally forgotten.
Yeah. And I wanted to add one other thing because for anyone in the audience, I would like to do a memorial at the end of the film. So if you had a friend or a family member or an acquaintance that may have passed in the year 2020, I would really love to pay tribute to them at the end with a picture, like picture kind of thing. And I think that can also be healing for people. So I'm also willing to take their stories as well.
I think that would be very healing.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it because, like I said, I've been going through photos and journals and writing down notes, have notes for our little discussion. So, yeah. And I'm learning a lot from what I'm reading.
It's not all trauma either. Like one of the things that struck me was in the summer when we were on sort of a lockdown situation, just these little moments that I was able to pay attention to, like eating ice cream with my grandsons. Just really being present for that and just finding joy in that moment. Whereas before I might've been too busy. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm working, but we were all home.
Absolutely.
And we could just focus on what we love and who we love.
And we were able to set up a very small group who we would all get together and eat supper on Sunday night. But we knew that person wasn't going out. And we weren't going out. So
and remember, we always ate outside. And at first we were wearing masks.
Right.
We wore masks. But we had our Sunday dinners. And it was a way of communicating with somebody other than each other.
Right. And in his case, he was all by himself. Another thing that
was a really interesting story, how he survived living on his own without anybody around.
Right. He looked forward to Sundays because he was going to see people.
Yes. The idea of human connection and how important that was is something we all learned in 2020.
We had our little pod.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And I was going to say something. Oh,
we had great Sunday dinners though.
Yeah. And we would take masks and give them. When we were able to go out with masks, we would just like at Starbucks.
Oh, I would make sanitizer and I would order funny masks.
And
And when we would go through a drive-through, we would hand them sanitizer and face masks. And our local Starbucks liked my sanitizer so much they would beg me for it. Can we get it in a larger size? Can we buy it from you?
I mean, that's like a really good point, because in
Yeah.
the very beginning, you couldn't get masks, you couldn't get sanitizer. There was so many supply chain issues. And I remember how many people stepped up to the plate for their community. I'm thinking of a friend of mine who I think that she worked related to the Red Cross, but on her own, she was great with sewing and cooking. And because she took all her scraps of fabric and she would just make their masks and send them to people.
That's what my sister was doing. She was she sent me a Cat in the Hat mask. That is one of the few I kept.
Yeah.
One of the few I kept. And to end my photo journey for 2020, I was going to end with our Christmas tree, which was
it was
nothing but lights, masks, different types of masks, and toilet paper as the
rolled around for the
what
garland.
do you call that? The garland.
Yeah, the toilet paper thing. That was a huge thing too.
That was our garland.
So we did a toilet paper garland and all sorts of different Christmas masks hanging from the. You have a picture of it somewhere.
Oh, I do. It's in the pictures that I'm going to give her.
Yeah.
Yeah, like with White Dragon's Head, I had to make my mask first. That if I was not good at sewing, I had to depend on other people. Etsy was a huge thing because you could go and they would sew them and send them to you pretty quickly.
Yes.
Yeah.
They definitely were. I made my own sanitizer and I use what's the alcohol? Everclear, because they don't if you use regular alcohol, they have an additive in it so you don't drink it. That's what makes things fog up. You know, it makes things cloudy when you try to clean with alcohol, isopropyl alcohol. But Everclear is the same thing, except for it's pure alcohol. So you don't get that. So I mix that with aloe vera, aloe vera juice, aloe vera oil, and I use tea tree oil as the sanitizer in it, as well as alcohol, because tea tree kills bacteria and mold and all those things, all those different things. So that was my sanitizer. I still have it I still carry it in my car.
And it's much easier on your hands.
And yes, it didn't hurt. George's aloe vera. Do you know what George's aloe vera is? It's a drinkable one. It comes in a half gallon.
Oh,
it's a drinkable that doesn't have any flavor, doesn't have any taste, but it's
tastes
great
like
for
water.
your gut.
And it's not thick or anything. Tastes like water.
So I use that. But we also have, and I still have the box on my front porch for packages. We had gloves, mask, and sanitizer. And we made them in little bottles so they could take them. But there was also a big bottle if they wanted to clean their hands there, with masks and gloves for anybody that needed them.
Right.
And a bottle of water.
And also we kept bottled water underneath.
We learned so much how to be self-reliant. I think that came out as well. Like when things got tough, it gave me faith in American people that the smaller communities came together for each other. That we have no hand sanitizer. Let's make some. We don't have masks. Well, Susie can sew. Susie's on it. You know, like I think we did see that. That should give us all hope.
We did see that. Small communities coming together big time.
We can come together in a disastrous situation.
Other thing I noticed, and this was huge here, the ocean cleaned up. They locked down the Keys where you could not drive down the Keys. So we had no,
and of course, there's no cruises.
No cruise ships, no nothing. And within a week, Heather and I would get in the car and drive around the island, go sit at the beach, play our Harry Potter game, just to get out in the fresh air, get out of the house. And we would sit at the beach and watch the ocean and all that sort of thing. But to see it clear up in a week, just
so you could see through it again,
and boats and cruise ships, it was amazing. So it also gave me hope.
That too.
It gave me hope for our country. I mean, our earth, for the oceans.
Yes.
It was amazing.
Quit polluting them and they'll be all right. Well,
Yeah.
as much as they can be.
They'll bounce
Yeah.
back. They'll heal. Just
It
like,
will heal. It will heal.
yeah,
Earth
If
will.
you give her time.
Yeah.
If you give her time.
absolutely. Yeah.
Me too, Laurie.
Yeah. I like that comment.
I love seeing how quickly Mother Gaia could heal without all of the humans out and about.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
It was actually the paradise island that it was made out to be.
True.
Yeah.
Because it
I
was
agree.
beautiful. Yeah.
It really was. So I kind of miss the fact that we have people again.
Yeah.
I really liked it quietly.
Well, that's funny you should say that, because there were a lot of times I didn't mind the lockdown. Like, I felt like it was nice just to be in my small pod, like you
Mhm.
said, without
Yeah.
the pressure of having to go out there. And yes, I could be out with everyone in the whole world through YouTube, through, the internet, but just being able to have those quiet moments, I thought were very healing and spiritual for me.
Mhm.
Another thing that we did was I created a Zoom. I got on Zoom and created a Zoom meeting with Heather's daughter, my granddaughters, and my sister. And once a week, we would get on Zoom and I would channel. And then we would sometimes just chat, just to talk to each other, just to
Yeah.
communicate. So I learned a little bit about how to use Zoom doing that, because it was
All of a sudden,
wonderful.
we had to be techies.
Yeah.
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 You have
I
to
gave
do
that up when I retired. No.
That's true. We thought we did. Yeah. Well, thank you, Pete.
Thank
That
you.
was sweet.
Oh,
I'm
thanks,
so glad
Pete.
you ladies are here. Thanks. We're glad
We're
you're
glad
here
you're
too.
there.
We're glad we're here as well.
Yeah,
Because
we're all
2020, I was told that I needed to start a YouTube channel. That's when they gave me. Please. There were several entities that came through that wanted me to do the channel, and I was like, no way. People are mean. I'm not doing it. Because that was FaceTime and Twitter, and people were so horrible on FaceTime and Twitter. And when we actually found YouTube and started watching YouTube, and I realized, oh, no, this is totally different. These people aren't anything like Facebook and Twitter. It's a whole community of people that are into love and light. Oh, my God.
Although I
Who
will
knew?
say, in the beginning, you do get the people who are not love and light. I mean,
Yeah.
that happens.
There are a
But
few.
you learn to get a tough skin. You learn that they're just passing through, and you let them pass through, and you block them. And then eventually you start building it up. So, you're only getting the really good people, because I think that happens
have
a
to
lot when
say,
you first start.
we didn't have that problem because we learned from you that started before us, and we had one time when we had a troll, and the lovely moderators took care of that. But then I went to subscribers only and 5-minute delay and did no more.
Yep, that helps a lot. I do remember the first time I was on your channel, there was a certain troll, and
That was it. That was the only time we've ever had it.
right? Because we pulled the chaos card, like literally.
Yes.
I'm like, chaos.
Yes, that was your card of the day, was chaos.
That's like card of the day. I'm like,
and it
chaos.
totally was chaos.
And then this troll came on, and we were like, ah.
We couldn't figure out how to get rid of it. It was
And then
hilarious.
the people in the chat were like, wait, I think I got them, but then they pop up again. Like, it was resurrected. It was
That
good
was
fun.
so
I think
funny.
it was actually turned into like a whack-a-mole, and we all had a good laugh.
That's exactly what it was like, whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
It was so funny. I can't believe it was with you.
It
That's
was
the
with
only
me,
time
because
I
I
ever
remember
had
that.
one. It was after that we did subscribers only, and luckily haven't had any trouble since then.
Yeah.
Mind you, we're also pretty small. We're still under 500 people, 500 subscribers. So if you guys like us, please go subscribe. We'd love to hit 500.
Subscribe,
Like,
hit the
subscribe, and
notification
share.
bell. Yeah,
Share it with your friends.
Yeah.
You know what? The notification bell, I really like that. So I don't miss my friends that I want to watch, the
Right.
shows that I want to watch. That notification button's handy for
Yes.
sure.
Yes.
So go hit it.
Go hit it, and then you'll know when Priscilla's on live, and Priscilla and Heather. The Crone Zone.
Crone zones every Tuesday and Saturday at 3:00 Eastern. That's because if I didn't have a schedule, God knows what I'd be doing. You know what I mean? I
Gotta
have
keep
to
it
have a
organized.
schedule.
Changing the time because I changed time zones was a little more difficult because it's right smack dab in the middle of the
In the
day.
middle of the day.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So
I don't know.
I'm learning what things I can get done in the mornings that I can do the show and then do the afternoon. Because
I imagine that was an adjustment, moving to a different time zone.
yeah, but it's okay. It's okay. I was going to say something and I can't remember. It's all right. If I do it, if it's important enough, I will remember it.
Yeah. So it'll pop back in.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what do you do? What are you up to next? When's your next show? Don't you have a daily show, or I mean a weekly show?
With me?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, all right. I thought this is the month I'm like back on track and everything's good. But as it turns out, I just purchased a house. So, and like this one,
Where?
I
Up in the
will-
mountains, I hope.
I am going to be up in the mountains, in the White
Yay.
Mountains of New Hampshire.
Yay!
And
Congratulations!
But I don't want to say congratulations yet because we're under contract. But I'm a little like there's been some changes here and there, and I'm like, you know, fingers crossed everything works out. But if everything works out, it should close at the end of the month, and so therefore I may be moving in November. And I'm saying
Let's all
this
send you
positive,
positive energy for
yes,
the most benevolent outcome for you
most
and your
benevolent
family.
outcome. That everything goes smoothly. It will affect my schedule, going back to why I gave that
That's
information.
okay.
So I would say definitely book with me in October for the 2020 project. I've got some times left. People have already booked. Nothing, I'm not going to be moving or doing anything. I'll be working like normal. I have a political and current event show every week. I go on live, usually on Mondays, but lately I've had to shift that because of what was going on. So hit that notification bell for me so you'll know when I go on live if you're interested in political readings. And I do a Sunday message. And sometime like this week, it's just me. I think next week's Sun Psychic Jean is going to help me with the Sunday message. We just had one with Val from Dragonfly Crystals. She helped me with the Sunday message. So occasionally I'll have people who help me with channeling of some sort of message for the week. And I'm going to make that a regular feature. But in November, I might be spotty with my availability just until I can transition to a new place. I'll be packing and getting some stuff going. But once I'm there, I'm there. Like I'm not moving again. This is it for me. Yeah.
That's exciting. So are you up in the mountains?
I am up in the mountains. I have a beautiful mountain view. We'll have about 7 acres.
Lovely.
Yes, I'm out in the middle of nowhere. That is true. But I am
like that.
Yeah, I'm still like 20 minutes or so away from the closest town, which has everything. So it's not like I'm so remote, but remote enough where I have that quiet oasis. So
lovely.
I'm believing in like minimalism and having a simple life. And this hopefully will give me more time for creative pursuits. That was my big 2020 shift. That, in fact, my opening of my documentary are going to be where I ended up. I'm going to start taking, some shots and openings from my new place because I would never have thought this was possible. But 2020 taught me that I need to live a more simple life. It's not about having lots and lots of money, but being more self-reliant, having less stuff. And it's about time. And for me, the time was needed to make a documentary, to do YouTube, to write a book that I want to write. I feel like I have creative energy that needs to come out, and this is buying me time. So it does mean I'll have to, work that garden and the farmer's market, and I have to learn to can again and all of that. But that's what I'm going to sign up to do. Yep.
New Hampshire, right?
Besides, canning your food is better for you.
That's right.
It is. Absolutely. And the garbage we buy.
Is it hip? Is she asking?
Ethnicity. What state are you going to be in?
The great state of New Hampshire.
I've
That's
never been
where
there.
I'm going to. Yeah.
It looks beautiful, though, New Hampshire.
Yeah. It's cold. Everyone will say, it snows a lot. Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Snow can be
That's
fun.
okay. That's where
I
you're
love
getting your stuff.
Yeah.
And
I'm-
you buy.
I think time right. I'm not sure that it has anything to do with 2020, because right now it seems like time is pushing us all, or spirits pushing us all into doing what makes each of us happy instead of what we're being told to do by
Right.
society. It seems like that is a whole shift of humanity. And there's so many people that are breaking away from 9-to-5 jobs, which is a big thing about COVID. If you'll remember, people not going back, they're working from home and they never went back to the office. That happened with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Never had to go back. So now they know what it's like to work from home. And it's like, I don't have to put up with that corporate bullshit. I can work in my pajamas. This is all right.
That's right.
A lot of that happened. So I really believe it's a whole shift in humanity. I don't think it was just it's an individual thing.
We need to live in the now and be responsible for ourselves. Well, if you're not going into work, you have to be responsible to get that work done.
True.
That's right.
Whereas where you went someplace, you automatically did anything you could do not to work.
And a lot of that had to do with the overseer, right?
Yes.
I like to call it the corporate slave system, where you had middle management over you with the whip saying, you need to be more productive. You need to do this. I think people are just over that. I know I've been over that since I was born. So I was always that rebel. I was like, please don't tell me what to do. I'm out of here.
Because if you tell me not to do it, I guarantee you I'm going to do it. It's just in my DNA.
I did not work out in those systems very well, but that was just who I was coming out of it. But maybe that's just because maybe it was less a shift. I just needed to do that for other people to say, you could do that too. You can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lori says it gives her so much hope. I'm hoping to be shifting away from the city and have a farm with a few family members in a few years.
Lori,
My family, we want to create our own little compound. Tiny home compound in New Mexico.
Nice.
That's where we're headed.
And it's so funny you said that, like that idea of the family, extended family living, because my parents were baby boomers, and they kind of grew up in that time where, okay, you did this whole thing for so many years in the same job, and then you shifted and you retired, and then you went to a warm climate.
And then you die.
And then you died. But it was like, and retirement was about traveling or living in Florida or Arizona and playing tennis or something, or golf. I feel like now it's just so different for a variety of reasons that my goal now for retirement is securing land for my family, for my extended family, so that we always have something to go back to. And I know that sounds silly. I don't see myself retiring in a traditional way. Yeah.
I'm 20 years older than you, and I feel the same way.
Yeah.
And I came from a farm. I lived on 25 acres before I moved here, but it was too much for me. After David died, it was way too much for me.
That's a lot, though. That's so much.
I just lived on 10 acres.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I owned the whole quarter, but I lived on the 10 acres of it. And that's too much for a single woman to take care of.
It is. It's way too much.
Yeah. And that's why extended family, or looking out for my extended family, I think will be good. And when it doesn't work out, like with people who worry about me, but what if you can't handle it, whatever, then I sell it and I do something different.
And do something different.
Then
it's a new adventure.
You adapt what your circumstances are in the moment. You don't worry about it now. You just worry, not worry, but you just focus on the now and say, well,
my sister told me I was crazy to move to Key West with all the hurricanes. Because the year that I was talking to her about it, there were like 5.
Right.
We haven't had any since I've been here that have hit the island. Now, part of that was due to Heather and I doing our weather witching, keeping them away. We work on hurricanes all hurricanes, really, to keep them away from land wherever possible.
Right.
And
But definitely away from Key West and the Keys.
mhm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I haven't had any problem with hurricanes here other than Irma, which took out a fence and a tree. So I was very fortunate.
I can have hurricanes here. Like Lee almost hit us. You know, I mean,
Where are
basically,
you?
we're in Massachusetts right now, in southern New England, which, you know, we had the great 1938 hurricane. The 1950s was huge, Hurricane Carol and stuff, huge damage. A lot of times we'll only get ones like at that level. But we're not out of the woods. You have certain wind patterns. We can get hurricanes. We can get blizzards. We just had tornadoes, like 2-3 times our phones were going off with tornadoes. So bad things
I
can
grew up in
happen
Texas.
everywhere.
Tornadoes were a normal thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
So people don't think of like Massachusetts getting tornadoes, but we've had quite a few.
or hurricanes, really.
Or hurricane.
Yeah.
Well,
I
I
grew
don't
up,
know. Living near the coast, we do get hurricanes. My
Yeah,
father almost died in a hurricane. So I feel like that's just been part of like something that happens in New England, but not
no,
as
but
often.
it happens along the whole Eastern Coast.
The whole
Because
East
I grew
Coast,
up in
yeah.
New Jersey, and I remember going home early from school and saying no school the next day or so,
Yeah.
because there was a hurricane that was coming through, and
Right.
it
Yeah.
took care of a lot of it broke a lot of trees.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's just it's not as bad as down south, but it's still a thing. You're absolutely right. And
Yeah.
usually September and October is our danger zone because that's our warmest water.
Well,
So
it's the worst hurt for hurricanes down here too. I
Yeah.
think October is even higher than September.
that's when we had the Hurricane Sandy, which hit New York,
I
was
remember
an
that.
October storm, and that could have hit my area. It shifted at the last
Wow.
minute. It went up a little bit more. It would have gone up right through where we are, where, you know, Cape Cod and that whole area is.
Right.
Rhode Island.
Wow.
That's kind of where we're at. Yeah.
we do try to steer them out to sea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. But yeah, going back to the storm thing, that's no reason to not live somewhere, like, because
Amen.
anything can happen, even the fires or I mean, yes, you want to use some common sense if there's a place that's just like in it, not able to be, you know, lived in.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part, you might think you're safe from something and you're not. You just don't know.
You check the
Yeah,
insurance
I agree.
company,
I agree.
because if you're in a tornado zone, the insurance company knows it. If you're in a hurricane zone, the insurance company knows it.
That's
Find
right.
out what the rates are, and you'll know what kind of
Yeah.
area you're going to.
That's right. Then you can take your chances. Can you afford to live there? Can you afford to take that chance? That's individual. I would
Mhm.
never say don't do it. Some
That's
people would
true.
say, I'm living on the water, darn it, and I'm going to do it.
But
Okay.
that's why I don't live on the water. We picked a place in Midtown, I'm pretty much in the center of the island. I didn't want to live on the shore, and well, mainly it's condominiums and that sort of thing. But
Yeah, the wind is pretty well cut by
no,
everything.
it's too scary to think about living on the water for me, especially on a ground level. Maybe if you're up in a condominium, like 3rd or 4th floor, it's different. But no, I don't.
Yeah,
I
storm
live in a
surge
condo.
is as dangerous as any storm.
Yeah.
Yeah, storm surges are horrible.
Yeah.
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 It really devastated half this island. The last Hurricane Ian last year,
Yeah.
because of the storm surge. I think it hit at high tide.
Yeah. That's what
Usually they hit at low tide for some reason, but this time it was high tide.
because that's what almost killed my father. Like, he lived in Rhode Island when he was a kid. I think it was Hurricane Carol, and the storm surge came up. God, it must have gone up like 20 feet or something.
Yeah.
It was something ridiculous. The water kept coming up to the 2nd floor. And then he would tell the story how, you know, my grandfather was trying to get him out of the house, and a little rowboat came by and they were rescuing him and his
Wow.
brother. So yeah, when the storm surge comes up, it comes up fast and
It
furious.
does.
Yes,
It definitely
stay out
does.
of the way.
Yeah.
Well, ladies, we've been on an hour, so we did good. That was fantastic.
Awesome. And I just want to say one more time, I'm looking for people to participate in that 2020 project. Just go to my website, tarotsoulwriter.com, just like it's written here, only .com. You'll see 2020 project. Sign up for a time that's available. We'll have a nice little interview, and we can talk about how you can be part of this documentary. I'd like to hear your story.
If they have pictures or journal writings or anything
Yes.
like that.
And you
video,
can submit
whatever.
that to me, like through if you go to the website, you know, you'll hook with my email as well. All of my information is on my YouTube channel as well. Tarot Soul Writer.
Yeah.
So,
Well, good. That's perfect. On Tuesday, we have a show on Crone wisdom. We're going to talk about what it means to be a crone and how important it is to share your knowledge as a crone. And it should be a good show. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, that
And
sounds
then next weekend, we have Scott Allen on for Saturday afternoon.
I love
We
Scott.
haven't seen
Saturday
Scott
or
in
is
a
it
while.
Sunday?
No, he's coming on Sunday. We're not
Okay.
doing a show on the 14th. We're not going to be here on the 14th. I'm sorry, because we're doing a class later on in the afternoon. So I scheduled him to come on for Sunday at 3:00 Eastern. And that's great because we haven't seen him in months. And
Yeah,
got a
he's
lot to
great.
get
I thought that we had said Sunday. I just wanted to be sure.
Thank you. We did. It is definitely Sunday.
Okay.
But everybody in the chat room, please go out and shine your light this weekend.
And
Speak your
thank you for
truth.
being here.
And thank all of you all for being here and sharing your comments and your love. And we just want you to know how much we love you and appreciate you guys being here. And until next time, we'll
And thank
say
you,
goodbye.
Kerrie. Thank you, Kerrie.
Thanks so much. And we'll
Bye.
see you
Thank
next
you.
time.